Hello, everybody. Welcome. No 60-second intro video thing. We're just going. That's the way Tyler does it. Would he have entrance music if he was a pro wrestler? Probably, right? We've seen lots of gimmicks where that hasn't worked, where you do not have entrance music. But hello, I'm Tyler Sage. This is Brass Ring Media, the Thursday flagship show. Zach is not able to join me today, but he'll be back next week better than ever. So excited for that. And welcome. We're going to talk AEW Dynamite. Going to let people file in here. Say hi in the comments if you're able to watch live on YouTube. So all that good stuff. Let's get all the particulars out of the way. First of all, Patreon. You can see that up here. Patreon.com/BrassRingMedia. Please give us a follow there. And think about becoming a member. You join our Discord. You get special Patreon exclusive written work and audio shows. Every pay-per-view review is behind the Patreon curtain. And Zach and I do a good job of not letting that slip out later. So if you want our true takes on every pay-per-view, which are the seminal moments in pro wrestling, right? You look back in history, you think of the year 2004. You don't really think about Raw in the middle of July, right? You think of SummerSlam, you think of WrestleMania. You think of those sort of things, right? You go back to the 90s, you think of, WCW Halloween Havoc. You don't think about the 90s. Bash at the Beach 96. You certainly do not think about the Nitro the night after because it sucked. So if you want our opinions on all of the pay-per-views, here you go. So we got Devin in the chat. Hello, Devin. He says, happy Thursday. Been a listener of Dom for a couple years now. Happy to join you for the first time. Well, thank you. And Dom is fantastic. One of the best in the business. There's a reason he hosts most pro wrestlers podcasts, it seems. Whenever I pop in the library here and see all the shows he does, it's incredible. Done lots of shows with Dom. One time, I think it was this past Halloween, we did a Halloween night edition of the flagship here. Didn't talk to each other and both showed up in costume. So, he's one of the best for that reason alone. So, just me today, though. So we're going to do a quick review of Dynamite with me and hopefully your guys' opinions as well. As we are about 2.5 minutes in the show, we'll get rolling here. And let's start. We had the opening segment of the show, which I thought was super good, super powerful. It was a follow-up on big stuff that happened in 2 matches on Double or Nothing, which seems like, well, yeah, duh, Tyler. Why would they not do that? Well, they usually don't in AEW. 6 years in, and this is still a quaint, nice thing in the booking to make sure your main event and your co-main event mattered, and they lead to something else down the line. So huge thumbs up on that. That's just not even talking about the content, just the idea of, hey, on an outline on the whiteboard segment to follow up from the big pay-per-view the night or a couple days before. Hangman Page comes out, does a spirited promo about his journey the last 2, even 3 years, going back all the way to the CM Punk stuff. I mean, right? Him and CM Punk is the main event of Double or Nothing 22. Yeah. So, big, passionate babyface speech. Still comes out on the heel side. I know that's not as much of a thing in AEW these days. Still interesting that he does that. Maybe that was his moment of like, I'm a true babyface now and come out. Or maybe the stuff with Swerve's got to be resolved before he comes out the other side. Not the biggest deal in the world on either, but interesting stuff to think about nonetheless. So, really good passionate speech. This part where he's, yelling so much that his spit is getting in the camera. I liked all that stuff. Very passionate. Very much like the reason of why Adam Page is that character that should defeat Jon Moxley and thwart all that he stands for. Makes sense, right? And AEW does have to do a little bit of heavy lifting, because I think most fans, myself included, thought Ospreay was the right choice there. But, it didn't feel totally out of place watching the show that they went with Page, and this helped convince that story. So Swerve then comes out, and this is good, right? Talks about what the Young Bucks said about screwing him over against Moxley at Dynasty. And asking Paige if that was true. Paige saying you're an idiot. Like, I almost thought about helping you for a second, but I was there to take out Jon Moxley. And then Will Ospreay. Well, first of all, before Will Ospreay comes out, like this, I like that all the interactions they've had with each other is not just a quick like, hey, you're a good guy now, I'm a good guy now. Cool, it's all good. This is like a nuanced, actual how human beings, like if they, not that this is like how human beings would actually work together if they burned each other's houses down. Obviously not. But I do like that they've made an effort to be like, hey, like just because they're both good guys doesn't mean they're going to fall in love with each other here. And instantly become the Avengers of AEW, which is obviously the course that they're all set on. So like that, like all this stuff here, like this interaction between Swerve and Paige as well. Ospreay comes out and, says like, hey, when you beat me, Swerve, when you were champion, you came back and shook my hand. Paige did the same thing. Being that bridge of a character between these two, being like the embodiment of the audience, the conduit of the audience. They're on screen for Will Ospreay saying like, hey, I was so disappointed and I thought I could be the one to defeat Moxley. You thought you were the one that could defeat Moxley, but he's the one that can defeat Moxley. Great stuff. Great segment all around. The only like small edit, and I like the idea of this. I would like it workshopped if I'm Tony Khan a little bit, but Will Ospreay saying like, hey, people are giving us a chance, bro, or like think we're doing good. Saying like the consensus out of this weekend seems to be in wrestling that AEW got its groove back and is now really something to continue watching if were a fringe fan who was not watching a ton of it. And for Ospreay to so explicitly say that really is fine, because if you're not like hardcore in the space like you are watching this, or I am hosting a show like this, you can read it as like, hey, like everybody likes us, and maybe everyone didn't like Swerve, everyone didn't like Ospreay, everyone didn't like Paige, right? They've all been heels within AEW. So I get the double-sided nature of that sentence, but I do think just like a little bit of editing would have made me feel way better about that than like, hey, look, we're doing great. It's because of the three of us. So not a huge critique, but just like something that popped out in my head. But yeah, I mean, this was really, really good stuff. I liked a lot of it. Great classic 15-minute opening promo segment that builds what's to come. Then we have them all leave. Jon Moxley, his group come. They have a trios match where Jon Moxley and Fat Jon Moxley, which is now what I will be exclusively calling Gabe Kidd, as they dress exactly the same. And he just has, if Moxley's 8% body fat, Gabe Kidd's a healthy 15% body fat, like most people walking around would love to be. So let's not go crazy on the. Maybe I'll get a better name for Gabe Kidd here besides that. But there were times where if you look away and pop up, you only see the back. If it wasn't for the tattoos, you wouldn't know who's in the ring and who's not. So, but those two and Shafir taking on Speedball and Mark Briscoe and Willow is, it's all good. But yeah, fun match. Was it two commercial break sort of match? Obviously, with the long beginning segment and this popping through makes sense that it was going to be that sort of match, but it did feel a little long for me, but overall did the right thing. And that is, I thought in this moment, like, hey, Briscoe lost to Ricochet. Maybe they'll give him the win here to like keep him strong, but he's a character that doesn't need that. And that would have been a poor booking decision, in my opinion. And instead it made, Claudio a B player in the group, Wheeler Yuta-esque with his interference stuff, and made Gabe Kidd for probably all the way through All In the real like heavy and right-hand man of Jon Moxley, who's not taking a bunch of losses, which is super important. And him and Moxley together decimated by Mike Bailey, who, looked good against Okada, and Briscoe, who had also obviously an awesome match with Ricochet. So to like essentially dominate them in a long match, but look strong at the end and look imposing and scary was a good first step to make Moxley seem more unbeatable at All In than I think he is currently. So they're working to get there. So I'll give it a thumbs up for that reason right there. Then after that, let me check my notes. We had the video definitely shot after the match, which is fine. Give these guys the week off. of MJF cutting a promo on behalf of the Hurt Syndicate, saying the Triple B, his big, beautiful belt, I think in reference to Trump's big, beautiful bill. It was what MJF was doing there. Was an interesting decision there by him to poke fun at that, which is, again, interesting when it comes to wrestling. Usually people are pretty apolitical in their stuff there. So, had him cut a pretty good promo, say like, hey, with this group, we're unstoppable. I'm unstoppable. We're unstoppable. I'm going to make sure they keep their gold. I'm going to get my gold and all that stuff. So very kumbaya of a promo, which is fine as an interlude before they get to the story here. I still think there's a lot here, and probably these guys are not together when All In starts, but we'll see. Maybe it could be a little longer than that. But yeah, it's good. And then MJF seemingly had the new thing of like, the syndicate, it's all business. So to get hurt and business in the same sentence is good. I think that helps, as people like myself can't help slipping in a hurt business when we're talking about the Hurt Syndicate. So this is good. Good little thing. If you're not on the show, it's fine. Good promo. Then we had the start. It was AEW Dynamite before this. The rest of the show was AEW Hard Way. Should have been the name of the show, because we had Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford versus Anna Jay and Harley Cameron in a no DQ tag match. Solid action. Obviously a vessel to make Megan Bayne look strong. It's funny when you watch this, it's like, okay, what's the order of importance here if I'm Tony Khan? 1, by mile, Megan Bayne. 2 is Harley Cameron before the injury. Still, I think that. 3 is Anna Jay. 4 is Penelope Ford. So it's an interesting dichotomy of like who's in that ring and what do you care about. And, for all the history talk on Double or Nothing, to see like the historical originals that are in AEW still. And we'll talk about that throughout the night here. But a god-awful segment, had a lot of them. Trent Beretta was in a little bit of a match. You have Anna Jay, you have Penelope Ford, who's essentially an OG person. And they're all just so meaningless. So this is just the evolution of the company, right? So that's going to happen. It's going to naturally happen. It's just interesting. That Hangman Page is still so relevant as an OG guy. So, match was what it was. A lot of stuff. Obviously, it really starts when you pay attention to the Harley Cameron broken nose. I don't know if any news has officially come out about that, but, slammed on the stairs, hands not protecting the face. It would be my guess. But, yeah, bleeding pretty profusely. But, hey, shout out to Harley Cameron. Finished the match, put through all the paces, and looked very distraught at the end of the match, checking her arms, checking her face. Doc Samson went up and was doing the nose test like that. If you saw that at the very end, and Harley pushed his hands away and was in pain. So it seemed pretty legit to me of an injury. If you were thinking it wasn't, I would disagree. Or else Harley Cameron should be definitely an actor, not a pro wrestler. Quality stuff. Megan Bayne looks strong. Harley Cameron, sympathetic babyface. So good for what it is. And it's not the only women's segment on the show. So that's a huge plus for me. Because there's a lot of good in the women's division. Next, good Lord, we're live on YouTube, so I'm not going to cuss. What a absolute disaster this whole segment was. It wasn't very long, but from overall, I think I liked everything else on the show. At least the main event I didn't love as a match, but everything else I thought was really easily a thumbs up. Each segment, each match, each storyline being told, each decision made. But the Ops comes out. They loosely talk about Hook and him not really aligning with anything at this point. And Taz being I don't know what to tell you, man. And that's the end of that story. Very strange. Then you have the frat house. I think, is that what they're called? Let me check. Yeah, the frat house. Good Lord. What a just atrocious pile of garbage. So here's I'm going to tip my hand here. Is this is this a Ring of Honor group? I mean, I know obviously Preston Vance, -10, 10. What was his name? And Griff Garrison was in the Varsity Blondes. The guy Jack Jameson, I had never seen. And then like all the local talent that are in there is like the Rosebuds or what have you, right? So just like first and foremost, I don't know who approves this for television, but like I would think any modern booker promoter knows that, all the way back to whatever. I mean, it's probably before this, but I'm thinking like Godfather with the Hose. You've then got, Adam Rose and the Rosebuds. You've got, who else? Was it New Day that had a bunch of people? I guess that would have worked out if that was the case. Just these acts where this right here, where you need, Cole Carter was fake Sting. Thank you. He was. That's hilarious. I was like, where do I remember this guy from? Oh, that's crazy. Thank you, Devin, for that information there. But yeah, I mean, this was like absolutely a train wreck, atrocious. The fact that there's like money spent on them going out and drinking with local people and get video of it. Group's terrible. Should never be on television again. If I was like Griff Garrison, I mean, I understand why you do it because you're getting a paycheck, but that might be something where you're like, hey, dude, like, just let me go make it on the Indies and I'll get a real job. And I cannot have this be like my legacy of the last thing people see me in is the frat house. So anyway, atrocious stuff. They're supposed to be hateable, but it's the most go away group I've seen in a long, long time. It was crazy. This is on AEW Dynamite. I would be shocked if we ever see them again. Anyway, the Ops beats them. They suck. Let's never see them again. Thank you very much. And go from there. So one of the worst segments of the year in AEW was this. So with the good, the bad. We had the Mystico vignette to kind of put him over as a big star. I think we also had the Ricochet vignette at this time. Maybe it was a little later. But Devin, hey, I'm going to pop you up for this, my dude. I liked it, LOL, like Chase you. Hey, if you liked it, I'm happy for you. That's like what wrestling is. And obviously, I would assume you like them as they like make the Ops look like cool guys, destroying these like absolute jokers. Just for me, I'm okay with that. And I don't care about the Ops at all. But this was just like, this is like if I showed somebody, this is why I don't like it personally. This is just me. So let's give you Tyler's take here. If, like, on Saturday, I'm going to show people the Anarchy in the Arena match with pride and the main event. We have time to watch some wrestling before we celebrate someone's birthday. If I was like, if this was in the middle and I didn't know about it and that's just like, we're watching live and this popped on, I would be embarrassed to show people, like, this is what I like. This is what I talk about, etc. So that's my take on like why I dislike it so much, because I think it's like a slap in the face to us as wrestling fans. Now I know Anarchy in the Arena could be a similar argument, but for me, it threaded that needle in a way that I prefer to like. So tomato, right? So happy you enjoyed it, and happy you're here listening to the show or watching the show. So, but yeah, so we had the oh my God, what's it about? Ricochet promo and the Mystico vignette. So Ricochet promo, like that a lot. Saying he needs a group. We'll see who that is. I don't love that idea. To me, it feels like Leo Rush, Action Andretti sort of level of guys. That feels very like Chris Jericho-esque, but like even lesser. So I don't love that for Ricochet. So we'll see what they do with that. I mean, I think almost everything they've done with him since the heel turn has been fantastic. So I don't want to go negative immediately, but I am wary of him being like a faction leader and what type of talent are in that faction. Yeah, and as Devin's saying here, it's got to be Andretti and Rush. He said crew like 4 times, so it just seems that way. So we'll see. Maybe he'll just like abuse them, chew them up and spit them out, use them to then like run away, whatever, berate them. But that's again so Jericho. So I hope they can do something. And Ricochet and or whoever's been producing him has done a really good job. So we'll see. After that, let me check my notes again. Oh, we had the Jamie Hayter promo where Tekla, I believe, right? Is how you say that? debuted. And this is a way better debut. And people were thinking she would appear at Double or Nothing during the Mina Shirakawa and Tony Storm match, but obviously this is a much better placement for her. If you don't know who she is, it's a good like, hey, she's taking on a mid card person, probably get the win, and be built as a Megan Bain type sort of star. And Jamie Hayter, Megan Bain, Tekla as a new person, they're all sort of in that same ecosystem of like definitely below even like a Willow and a Mina Shirakawa and a Athena, I would think, and then they're below Tony and Mercedes. So there's like a clear hierarchy in the women's division, and that's a good place to start. That's where like Mariah May would have started. So and that worked out pretty good. So like the debut, fun little thing there. Hopefully she doesn't do the little spider thing 24/7 in a match. That's going to get boring as well. So just keep that in mind. Then we had Adam Cole versus Kyle Fletcher for the TNT Championship. Crowd very into Adam Cole, which is good to see. Obviously, he's doing a lot of time on Collision, so seeing him on Dynamite is good, fine. Solid match that felt like it was a pay-per-view match. That like let's say it was going to be an 18-minute. I don't know how long it was, maybe 10 minutes. This whole match felt like an 18-minute match that was cut off at the 10-minute mark. Obviously, the big story here is Josh Alexander comes in and saves Kyle Fletcher from the boom knee after a Panama Sunrise, and it's a DQ, right? So I know you're thinking, hey, if you watch this a lot, or if you don't, here's something to know about Tyler. I will roast WWE every chance I get for doing DQ finishes multiple times on every show. So I will roast them for that. AEW does this very infrequently, maybe once a quarter. But it is fine here, right? Because I was like, what is the goal here? Because it feels like no way that, I was ready to be upset if Fletcher had lost to Adam Cole in any way, shape, or form. And I think that's got to be the idea. Hello, Sean. Welcome in to the show. I went a little early because I'm solo today, but thank you for joining. I think most reasonable AEW fans would be like, Kyle Fletcher should not be losing to Adam Cole at this point, even if really for any reason, without protection. So good spot for a DQ finish here, because Cole shouldn't lose that title already. This is something he should probably lose it all in as like a thank you to Adam Cole, and then probably goes separate ways from the company after that, if I would guess, or like is in that transitional phase to do that. So, I'm fine with this in this moment because it's AEW doing something that's like what a DQ finish is for, is this, and not to abuse it. But yeah, so it was there. And then that led into, was there a promo in between? Let me check. No, that just led to Brody King, because Brody King came out and like kind of made the save for Cole. And you had, again, AEW Hard Way continued. And yeah, we had this Brody King, Josh Alexander match, which I really liked. Like in ring, and it felt like this is more like, let's run this back in the Continental Classic, these two. And they're both kind of like New Japan and AEW tournament style wrestlers more than main event wrestlers, which is like a tough thing to say. It's kind of like the good hand comment from back in the day of like, I like them in spots like this, but I don't see them as really, anything other than that. And, with any sort of promotion and backing of somebody, you can make anybody a star in pro wrestling, right? Or like at least tell people that they're a star. You can make James Ellsworth relevant if you really put a lot of work behind it. So, not to say it's impossible for both of them, but I just don't think I think Tony Khan sees it the way I see it. Of like, these guys are good hands, good tournament workers. Alexander's so crazy strong, and doing that German that busted his face wide open. You saw like, he probably got 15 stitches last night. But it's a match that, again, kind of like, I like the action. It didn't get out of third gear. I don't think it was supposed to. as your kind of match main event, but not the main event segment. So it was fine, and King got the win. He's the heavy in that 4-way match with Kenny. So I do, it depends what you do with King. And like, here's the thing: like Alexander's been so diminished already his time in AEW that it's like a tough spot for him. And I almost would prefer him in this match with Kenny, just to see like him and Kenny interact. I think that'd be better for Josh Alexander, and it'd be good for the Callis family to have like just had to DQ, cheat to keep Fletcher from losing, and then losing next. It does devalue that group, especially if Ospreay is going to be like a foil against them at All In. You want to keep them relatively strong as well. So that's more like why I didn't love this segment, because I think Alexander at this current time is just slightly more important than Brody King. And I do think that the Callis family needs to be a little more important. But we'll see where they go. Maybe it's just Fletcher and Adam Cole is the match at All In, and they don't need to be as important until after that. So we'll see. Then we had backstage Fletcher and Cole brawling, and Cole being like, "I'm going to kill you," which is crazy, or "I'm going to unalive you." Probably just got this video banned. I apologize to Zach. That was wild and kind of out of nowhere. Like, yeah, the match was DQ'd, but very strange. And like Zach Cole being like, "Hey, this is like my last chance to get like over with a guy who's over. So I'm going to do this intense thing that's going to lead to like a no DQ, crazy blood match on TV that everyone's going to love." Maybe, but it seemed like we missed a step on like getting to that reaction from Adam Cole. So that was there. Then we had the face-to-face with Mercedes and Toni Storm. Mercedes out first, talking about how great she is, etc. Toni Storm comes out, and they both basically just acknowledge like this is the biggest match the company can do. They're I like Tony's thing about, and this is more like just a little tightened up from that like Ospreay line. That like I just think Toni Storm's a more buttoned up promo than Ospreay is, just like a little bit. But her saying like we both, her and Mercedes, similar path, indies, did what we love, followed our heroes, etc. Left to the unknown and like became who we truly are meant to be. And Mercedes like nodded her head like crazy. Like that's where there's simpatico in that explanation there. And that line I liked of like, you don't say WWE, but you say like, hey, we left a lot behind, forged into the darkness, and came out the other side as bigger stars, as bigger talents, as who we truly want to be in this business. That was like a good note of like, and people even, people in the crowd are chanting AEW. So that's like, a point of pride after a show like this, that is probably unscripted, that like the beginning and the end of the show, all your performers are like aligned with like, hey, we want the place that we work to be the best. Like for all the pros and cons about like a Seth Rollins, let's say, you may love him or hate him, but he's always been WWE's biggest cheerleader, always said like the best do wrestle here, all that sort of stuff. Less so for like Punk and Roman Reigns and Cena and these other guys who are like more like, hey, they pay me the most, it's cool, Brock Lesnar. So it is different when like the people at the top of your company truly do care and like want to be an example of like, hey, we are what AEW is, or Seth, I am what WWE stands for in pro wrestling. So nice line there. A little weird at the end saying like, hey, I'll see you again in 45 days and that's it. Like I do hope there's some more interaction between these two before the actual pay-per-view itself. So that was a strange line that gave me some concern of like, hey, are these two not going to interact at all until the pay-per-view? But to end the show with these two women face to face for the first time ever, ? I'm sure someone can look up cage match for me. The first time in AEW for sure they've interacted. Felt like a huge moment. Felt like the right place to do it in the main event. When they said like, hey, coming up, it's going to be Mercedes, and Tony face to face. I thought it was like at the beginning of the second hour, not the true main event of the show. So, and not part of this show, Kazuchika Okada, Kenny Omega, FTR, Hurt Syndicate not there in person, right? So, your biggest matches on All In are Jon Moxley, Adam Page, Tony Storm, Mercedes Moné. Your 2 world titles, 1 and 2, most important stories. I think that's the way Tony wants it. That's the way I see it. And, Okada Omega would be the 3rd one as a legacy match for diehard wrestling fans. So I think that's the right way to go. I don't think the story's going to be good for Okada and for Kenny. I think it's going to be like, hey, we're going to roll out the helmets, have a 4.5-star match. That's going to be longer than it probably should be, but you're going to love it. Everyone in the crowd's going to go crazy for it. See you there. Which is why neither guy are probably going to be world champion for AEW anymore. But we'll see. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a really good show, minus the frat guys segment. Pretty much a thumbs up show all the way around. So good follow-up from that Double or Nothing. Very happy with that. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. 30 minutes straight. I need a glass of water. I didn't bring any down here. So appreciate you listening to me ramble. Appreciate all the new people from Dom's crew. Devin, looking at you there specifically. I saw Maria in there as well. And then all the regulars, Sean and who else we got here? Jose was in there. So you guys are great. Thanks for jumping on with me solo. If you're listening to this after the fact, Zach and I will be back next week. Bigger, better, badder than ever. Excited to talk wrestling with you guys again in the near future. So until then, have a great weekend.